this is another pickup video for the month of August with a few things from the very start of September because I'm doing this late. Before I begin, I'd just like to say there's more than a few games. The reason is because I go game hunting because that's what I like to do every week or so, and I pick up a lot of games for very cheap, a couple of pounds each, most of them second hand. So that's why. So it's a rainy day, it's very sad, but it's happy because we've got a lot of games. So let's get on to it. I'll do hardware first. The first thing is, and I'm very excited about this, TurboGrafx 16. This is the PAL version. It's really, really cool. Yeah, I'm very excited to have this. I'll give you a little look at some of the other things about it. This is where the AC adapter would normally go in, and there's the expansion port, which is completely useless on the PAL version because it won't accept the American CD attachment. But it plays the American games. It just converts them to the format that will work on our television. That will be 50 Hz because they're normally 60 Hz. So they play a little bit slower, but I'm very happy to pick this up. I can record from it. I managed to get a cable. It was an RCA cable. Never been so happy to have composite video, but it was an upgrade from RF, which is what it came with. I got that from Console Goods. I told them I'd shout them out, so I will. Link in the description. But that was really cool. Console Goods also do a lot of RGB cables, which I use for a lot of my systems. Very good video quality for that. So very happy to pick up this TurboGrafx. I also got a couple of games, which I'll go on to just a little bit later. And I got this for an absolute steal. It's a Sega Saturn. I'm very happy to have this. I didn't have any games with it to test with, unfortunately, because I've literally never seen one of these in the wild at all since the time they were out, and I didn't have one at the time because I got a PlayStation. Sorry. So I'm very happy to have this. I'm going to definitely get some games. I tested it with CD, which is how I test Sega CDs, or Mega CDs as we call them. Seemed to work fine, can't see any reason why it wouldn't. And it'll make all of my nights into dreams come true. And the last thing, I finally fell to peer pressure. No, my brother very much wanted a PS4, so I finally got one. And I got a PlayStation 4, this is a 1TB model, and this is the Uncharted model. And that is because that's the only 1TB model they had where I bought it from. And it has this little bit of Aladdin on the front, and I'm led to believe that means greatness from small things. Sic parvis magna, I believe it says. And that's a quote from Francis Drake, which is relevant to the Uncharted game series if you've played them. So there we go, that's pretty cool to have that, I'm very excited. Finally I can get playing some of those PlayStation exclusives, and I will. So on to the games. Where to start? Been picking up a lot of games recently from Games World in Bodmin. Now this is an online store. I'll give you a link in the description, but it's local. So first up, I got a load of Atari 2600 games. I rarely see these in the wild. There was a shop in Truro, but it's shut down now that did have them. But I got these from Games World Bodmin, so very happy to get them, and they're all in good condition. The first up I got was Asteroids, classic. Berserk, great game this, great game. Very similar, I think, in style to Robotron, which is go around shooting things, pretty cool. Had to get Frogger. That's a good one. Classic. Galaxian here. And the end label for that was gone, so I had to write it on myself. But you know, cartridges, they're very heavy duty. They survive. The original Mario Brothers for the 2600 here. You might think this is Mario Bros. 1 or Super Mario Bros. 1. It's not, it's a different game. There's a very similar multiplayer game, I can't remember if it's on, I think it's on free, a multiplayer game. That's the arcade version, essentially, a dubbed down version. Missile Command, it's a cool one. Yar's Revenge, great game this one. And Boxed, Defender. Love me some Defender. Got it in the box. That's cool. Then I have some Nintendo Entertainment System games. Sad news on my NES. It's practically dead, but I'm going to replace the 72-pin connector and try and get it back to life. I'm sure it's fine. It's just the pins are bent. I clean my games regularly, so there's no problem there. And I got Wizards and Warriors by Rare. Nice game there. And I also got Mario Bros. Duck Hunt. Super Mario Bros. Again, this is a different game from the 2600 game. And I got this because I play these on the Mario Bros. 1, 2 and 3. I play them on Super Mario All-Stars on the Super Nintendo, 16-bit versions. Now I also got some Commodore 64 cassettes. And this is really cool because I never see these in the wild. I got Chiller. Now this is not that weird, obscenely violent shooter game you might know that made its way onto NES but was an arcade game. This is kind of a mock or a satire of Michael Jackson's Thriller, and it's kind of a platformer computer game. It's kind of cool, nice to own that. And then I got Ghostbusters, and this is the same game as the NES version. You may wonder, why did I buy this game when we all know the NES version of Ghostbusters sucks? The reason I got this, and I will explain this in more detail because I plan to do a video on this. This is the Mastertronic version, and on this game there is a really cool loading game similar to Space Invaders called Invader Load. It's got awesome music and it's a really sweet version of Space Invaders. I love me some Space Invaders. And basically, when you load a cassette game, and they are cassettes, when you load them, they take ages and ages and ages. For anyone that does remember it, you can just stop the tape before Ghostbusters loads, but after the loading games load, and you can just play the loading game, which is what I do, because that's good and Ghostbusters is not. So, moving on. For the Sega Genesis, Growl. There is only a Genesis version of this game. This game has shot up in price, but I got it for very cheap, fortunately, before it did. This is a really sweet game. You are a zookeeper, or you're an animal rights activist, I'm not sure. The text in the story scrolls by very quickly, and you're going around killing humans with knives and guns to save animals. It's really sweet. Despite this being a Genesis game, it works fine on my Mega Drive. The Mega Drive is region free. It will just play it at 50 Hz instead of 60 Hz, which means it's a tiny bit slower. But other than that, it works fine, and yeah, I really like this. I played it through, completed it on my test run when I was testing if it was working. But yeah, I like it. Bit short, having said that. Bit short game, there's no 2-player. Moving on, for the Super Nintendo. Jonin Monkey was bugging me to finally get Donkey Kong Country, so I did. Great game, obviously. Didn't own it, I should own it, so I do. Super Street Fighter 2. This is the NTSC-J version. Why do I have this, you may wonder? They were going to chuck it out in a charity shop, essentially, when I informed them that it was an NTSC-J version, and they'd be better off putting it on eBay, because nobody in the UK can run this unless they have an adapter of some sort. So yeah, I bought it for £1. I can't use it, but whatever. Super Strike Gunner, and I think this is called Strike Gunner STG or something like that in the States. It's a shooter game, it's a nice one, it's good to have it. Moving on, the TurboGrafx 16. It's a really sweet system, I'm really enjoying it. I have Alien Crush, and these are on HuCards. Like I say, the CD peripheral will not work for me, at least the version I have. Alien Crush is a pinball game, a really cool, bizarre kind of dark and horror themed, alien themed pinball game. It's really neat. Next up, JJ and Jeff. Originally, this game had a different title. The Japanese version, the main characters were a pair of Japanese TV hosts that were very famous over there, and they changed it to JJ and Jeff when they brought it over to America, because no one would know who they were. So I think it got dubbed down in terms of censorship a tiny bit. I'm not sure about that. But yeah, it's a cool platformer. And then we have Legendary Axe. Very similar to Golden Axe, but with a slight bit more of a platformer element. It's cool. This one though, yeah, I really love this. Blazing Lasers. And although this is a CD case, it is, of course, it is a Hue card. I really like this game. It's a shoot 'em up game, and I played it for the whole day last time I played it. Yeah, there's definitely going to be a video on this at some point. Really great shooter game. Moving on. For the Sega CD, or the Mega CD as we call it, Time Gal. It's one of those games that if I can get it really cheap, and I did get it really cheap, I will buy it. It's a game with quick time elements. Similar, I guess, to these days would be the Walking Dead kind of Telltale Games type of thing, where you have very limited control. This is sort of a cartoon where this girl travels through time fighting evil, and you get very limited control over what you do, but nevertheless it's cool to have it. I got it for very cheap. Next up, I got a couple of games for the 3DO, the Panasonic 3DO. First up, I got D. This actually made it to a couple of other systems. I think it made it to PlayStation. It definitely made it to Sega Saturn. But I'm told the 3DO is the best version of it. It's a horror style game, pretty cool, and I got it relatively cheap. Next up, I got this from Games World Bodmin, Powers Kingdom, and this is probably the only RPG game on the 3DO that I have access to, not being Japanese. 3DOs are region free, but they don't have the Japanese text in them, or the fonts rather, to play the games if you try and put in a Japanese game. And some games are region locked on the disc. Curiously, this is sealed, and yeah, I don't collect games not to play them, so if this is gonna bother any collector, oh no, the seal! It's out of the seal. It's been unleashed. Ah! There you go. So yeah, I don't collect games just to sit on my shelf. I do intend to play this, so the seal is broken. Next up, I now have sex. I have sex on the 3DO. Why do I have this? Why do I have this? Well, first off, I'll say the name of this game, Sex. It's very blatant, isn't it? It's a game from Vivid Interactive. There are other titles have sort of a bit less of a blatant name in the terms of something like, you know, Steamy Windows or Blonde Justice or The Coven. They're a bit less blatant than just, oh, screw it, just call it Sex. Yeah. It's a very valuable game, and I got it for next to nothing, so that's why I have it. Will I play it? I don't know. But I did get, it was a good deal enough as it was. I got it for a fraction of the price it's worth. It came free, or I should say, this came free with it, The Lost Files of Sherlock Holmes for 3DO, which I might actually play. So that's cool. I wasn't expecting that. Funnily enough, I managed to damage the case of this game whilst trying to remove a sticker, which I'm very finicky about, which I've done many times. That's why it has a tiny white square on it, which is where I tried to cover up the ripped cover. Oh well. Moving on to PlayStation 1. I think you say, oh guys. I got this because I'm planning on doing a PlayStation 1 Hidden Gems game, and this is a real hidden gem. It was essentially a fighting game. It was an arcade game. When it moved on to the PlayStation Home Console version, they added characters from Final Fantasy VII. And if that wasn't awesome enough, they also added, among many other mini games, which is kind of cool, like racing and that sort of thing. They also added an RPG mode. Now that's really cool. That's the main thing that attracted me to it, other than Final Fantasy VII characters. And I have to be honest, I played this, and it was pretty easy. I played as Cloud, and I just brought out his Buster Blade, and I just chopped people to bits. It was I don't want to say it was very easy, but it was pretty easy. But you know, I don't often play fighting games, but that with an RPG mode and Final Fantasy characters was very appealing. Next up, I also initially picked this up for my hidden gems, but it is not a hidden gem. Extreme Ghostbusters, The Ultimate Invasion. Now this is a light gun shooter game, G-Con compatible, and yeah, it's a real rough game. Quite boring, quite repetitive. I expected more, but oh well. Next up, Metal Gear Solid, the Special Missions. Now these are some add-on VR training missions. There is a version of this that comes with the base game, but I don't have it. But it's kind of cool to pick this up. A few more missions for my Metal Gear Solid. Pax Corpus. And now I picked this up with my next game as 2 for £3 or something like that in a shop, because I wanted the other game. And yeah, it described itself as something along the lines of a Resident Evil style game. That was enough for me, except from what I understand, this is one of the worst games on the PlayStation 1. So yeah, with that information, I haven't tried it yet. And the next game, Tennis Arena. Now, why did I pick this up? By mistake is the answer, which also was the game that came with this Pax Corpus. I thought that this was a game which I now know to be World Court Tennis for the TurboGrafx 16, a RPG tennis game. This is not. This is just a regular tennis game with a slightly misleading cover, which is why I thought it was an RPG. With the racket on fire. So yeah, that's not what I thought it was. Oh well. And then finally, I think I got this from Games World Bodmin, just WWE, or F at the time, Smackdown. At one point I had all of the Smackdown games, because I was very invested in it, but I think maybe I traded them all in to get one of the later ones at some point, so I'm just getting them back. Next up, we will do the PlayStation 2. Here's another game I got from Games World Bodmin. Breath of Fire Dragon Quarter. It's cool to see a copy of that around. And now this is going to be a bit So, QQQ, you know it. I got another QQ Club game. And the reason is because after I was going through all of that garbage that I picked up from the PC lot last time, I suddenly decided that I don't actually own any decent snooker games. So as I was determining what I wasn't going to put in my collection and what I was going to put in my collection, I decided to try and find myself a snooker game. So I actually did a little research and found out that International Q Cup 2 is supposed to be alright, and I got that for something like £1 with Q Academy. So, yeah. And then, whilst I was out shopping for games, for 10 pence, I saw International Q Club on the PlayStation 1. So I picked it up. At the very least, it'll be a spare case. 10 pence, I can't really complain about that. Next up is something good though, Crimson Tears. It's kind of cool to pick that up. Moving on with the cool stuff, Dirge of Cerberus, Final Fantasy VII. Now, I haven't played any of the games after Final Fantasy VII in the same story, and I do intend to. So it's cool to pick this up, and I will get to it. I'm very behind on my RPGs, very behind. I keep picking them up. These games with huge amount of hours that need to be invested, and I'm still playing ones I picked up last month. Oh well. Really excited about this. Intellivision Lives. Basically, the complete library, 62 Intellivision games on this. That's really cool. Very excited about that. More PlayStation 2. Kessen. I'm sure I have at one point owned this. I've played the sequels, and I probably played this, but didn't have it in my collection, so I picked it up again. Onimusha 3. And the funny thing about this is when I picked it up and brought it home and opened it up, there was just Boogie for the Wii inside. Onimusha 3, just Boogie for the Wii. Interesting. So I took it back and I changed the disc, the guys I bought it from, and then bought more stuff as you do, unfortunately. Shadow Hearts Covenant. This is cool because I was after Shadow Hearts, which is a sequel to a game for the PlayStation 1, which I believe is pronounced Kudelka. It's kind of a sequel, you know, a spiritual sequel and sort of thing, and the same world. I didn't know that there were two other Shadow Hearts games, not simply titled Shadow Hearts for the PlayStation 2. There was Covenant and then New Dawn or something like that. So really happy to see this and pick it up. Talking about awesome games, Space Invaders Anniversary. This is really sweet. Your character is in like a 3D room full of arcade cabinets of different versions of Space Invaders. There's even 3D ones on there. That's really sweet. So really cool. And then after that, unfortunately, we have the Space Invaders game that nobody ever wanted. Space Invaders Invasion Day. And I can just show you the back of this real quick. It's presenting itself as a kind of FMV game, a sort of mystery game. And the actual gameplay, there's a lot of needless FMV, you know, Space Invaders with a story mode. Join the drama, it says. You are kind of a 3D game, but it's Space Invaders. Your character is a person standing at the end of a street whilst aliens in an orderly fashion move towards you. I just don't understand why you would even want to do that. Space Invaders was fine as it was. More PlayStation 2 games. Soul Calibur 2. This is the one with Hayachi Mishima in, which is awesome. I'm pretty sure I had this, or maybe I had Soul Calibur 3 back in the day and I traded it away or it disappeared somehow. Oh well. I saw this for under £1, so I picked it up. Robotech Invasion. It's a first-person shooter. SSX 3. Now, I was actually after SSX Tricky, which I owned at one point, which has completely disappeared. And I found it in a charity shop recently, but when I got it home, there was no disc inside, so I still don't own it. But, yep, SSX 3, glad to have that. It's a good snowballing game. And finally, for the PlayStation 2, Virtua Fighter 4. I immediately after buying this found out that there's a Virtua Fighter 4 Ultimate version, which is an upgraded, enhanced port with 2 new characters. Moving on, the original Xbox, which I guess is what you call it these days. 13, cool little animated style, cel-shaded rather, shooting game. I used to own it, don't know where it went, now I own it again. Blood Rain. I have actually never played any of the Blood Rain games, so this will be my first experience. Deus Ex Invisible War. This is the sequel to the first game. Xbox original games. It's the worst kept secret in gaming that these are just so cheap to pick up, and genuinely or generally rather, the Xbox version of a game in that generation is probably the best port. I then have Jade Empire, the limited edition version. And this is cool because the extra content is on a separate disc. So you don't need to log on to the internet to download the updates, which you can do on the original Xbox now anyway. Star Wars Knights 2. Knights of the Old Republic 2, rather. Sith Lords. I had this game on the PC at the time, completed it, but you know how it is getting older PC games to run. I'd much rather have it on the Xbox where I know I can play it. And I couldn't play it properly at the time on the PC, it was really buggy. But yeah, it's good to own that again. And Unreal Championship 2, another game I used to own but disappeared. This one probably in my water damage. And moving on to the Xbox 360, 007 Legends. Now this is a selection of different films, little mini missions for the Daniel Craig iteration of Bond. It says on it that you can download a Skyfall mission as like the final end mission leading into the Skyfall film, where these stories come in to give the character a bit more story or to depth to the character. Fortunately, I couldn't get that to work. My understanding is that it was made after these games came out for the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, but it is on the Wii U version, the disc. It's on the disc, which is nice to have stuff on the actual disc. Nevertheless, I will probably have to get the Wii U version at some point to play that mission. Fable 2, Game of the Year Edition. I have owned and completed Fable 2 at one point or another, but for some reason I don't have a copy of it, so I picked up the Game of the Year Edition. Left 4 Dead, Game of the Year Edition. Includes literally no DLC except the Survivor Pack, which is kind of disappointing. I got this because I actually haven't played any of the Left 4 Dead games, like at all. I played a couple of them multiplayer with a friend at one point, but I've never owned them. Persona 4 Arena. I didn't actually feel like I wanted the fighting version of Persona 4, but this was £3 and it had the soundtrack inside, so I couldn't resist that. Prey for the Xbox 360. I think this is being remade soon. When I got this, the disc didn't work, but I took it to a disc cleaner and got it to work. Tales of Vesperia. It's cool. This is the only Xbox Tales game that I know of. I think it is also on the PS3. It's cool to pick that up. It might look a little better on the Xbox, who knows. Moving on. Nintendo GameCube. I'm so happy. Harvest Moon. So happy. A Wonderful Life. I used to own this back in the day, and it, like a few other of my GameCube games, like Day of Reckoning 2 and Day of Reckoning, disappeared. They just vanished. But I've had such trouble trying to find this game in the wild. Finally found it, so I can finally tend to my farm. For the Wii, A Boy and His Blob. This is a really sweet RPG, Mario style kind of. You feed your little blob jelly beans to make him do stuff. It's really neat. Dragon Quest Swords. And the Masked Queen of the Tower of Mirrors. Now that's a bit of a mouthful, but it's a Dragon Quest game, so that's cool. I didn't know this game existed. I came across it, although the cover's a bit nasty. It looks like it has water damage to it or something. The paper's all crumpled. Nevertheless, I came across it. It was very cheap, and yep, that's the sort of thing I like, so I picked it up. Ghost Squad for the Wii. This is a shooting game with a Wii remote. It's kind of cool. It's the sort of thing that I like playing on the Wii. It's a shame they didn't really invest a lot of games into that. I think they did The Conduit, and they did a couple more, like they did House of the Dead and House of the Dead Overkill, but they didn't really put the time into it that they should have done. I think it could have been a real good thing, using the Wii remote as a gun. That's a shame. And finally, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Echoes in Time. This is also available on the DS or the 3DS, I can't remember which one, but I wanted it for the Wii because I want to play it on the full screen. So there you go. Moving on to the portable games. I came across Final Fantasy Tactics A2, Grimoire of the Rift. This is a sequel to Final Fantasy Tactics. It's cool to pick that up. That'll be awesome. I guess this isn't really a game, but my Japanese coach, actually fairly valuable in the right spaces, especially the PAL version. I want to learn Japanese for the stupidest reasons, not to go to Japan, but to play the Japanese unreleased over here RPG games. So, And then for the PlayStation Portable, Dynasty Warriors Volume 2. And then Smackdown vs. Raw 2009, I picked it up for £1. And finally, at the end of the line, for the PS3, we have At Alia Aisha, Alchemist of Dusk. It's a bit of a mouthful, but this is a RPG game for the PlayStation 3, and that's the sort of thing that I can pick up for the PS3 that I can't really get for the Xbox 360. Now I am buying for the PS3. Disgaea 3, Absence of Justice, another easy to pronounce title. This one I got from Games World Bognor, I think. Just another cool, I think this might be a turn-based RPG. Like I say, I've got so many RPGs to get through before I even start getting to the ones I got recently. This one recommended to me by the Jonin Monkey, Tales of Xillia 2. This is the Day 1 edition in a nice steelbook container. And I still need to get number 1, because I kind of assumed that this might be a Final Fantasy style thing where you can just play the sequels and they were completely different instances of story to the originals, but no. Another RPG, Time and Eternity. This one I can pronounce fine. And then finally moving on to the PlayStation 4, which I have very few games now, but I do intend to get a few more as we go on. Alien Isolation Ripley Edition. Ripley Edition includes 2 pieces of DLC that are quite, at the time they were hard to get hold of, but and actually it's kind of annoying because they're on a DLC code and they're not on the disc, which is the sort of thing I very much dislike. But this is a cool game. I already had it and I played it for the Xbox One, so why on earth did I get it for the PS4? Well, the Xbox One is quite temperamental when it's being online. It needs to be online to be played a lot of the time. And if it can't connect my saves to the cloud or sync them with the cloud, it won't play anything. So also I have a worry, and it's a worry that's quite far off, that the Xbox, when it is eventually has its cord cut by Microsoft, you won't be able to play anything on it. Is a possible outcome of that, because it needs to be online. So out of worry, I'm getting my multi-plats on the PlayStation now. Some of the ones even if I own. The next one will be probably The Witcher 3. There's a Game of the Year edition coming out. So I'm happy to have my Xbox One version, which has the soundtrack and has the map. But the Game of the Year edition is coming out and it's got all the DLC, so that's cool. Next up, and I realised this game is on other systems as well, Final Fantasy Type 0, and this is HD. I think this was on a portable system originally, and I'll be honest, perfectly honest, I don't like this, and probably because this is the first hack and slash Final Fantasy game I've played. All of the ones I've played previously to this, because I haven't really played them in a while, not since Final Fantasy X, which I didn't like very much, have I gone on to ones that are a bit faster in the combat system, and I didn't like this. Which probably doesn't bode too well for the next Final Fantasy games, the 7 remake, which I am very interested in playing because I'm a big fan of 7, and the next one that's coming out. But I just felt like you didn't have a lot of control over where you went, and the combat system was very repetitive. But whatever, each to their own. Finally, Until Dawn Extended Edition. Now, what a joke this is. Game is fine. I like the game. I really wanted to play the game. One of the reasons I picked up PS4. However, the extended edition. Now it says extended edition on this case. Funnily enough, the guy sent me the not extended edition disc, but it doesn't matter because the content, regardless if it says extended edition or if it doesn't say extended edition, is on the disc anyway. The extended content, 15-minute extra scene, is pre-order content, which you can only unlock, and it's on the disc. It'll just skip it otherwise. You only unlock that extra content if you have that code, which even if I got now a new copy, it would only last a year, so I wouldn't be able to use it now because that time's gone by. No way to get that content off that disc. No way to play it. So that's frustrating. It's a good game, but that is annoying. So I don't want to end on a downer, but there you go. Lots of games for me to have a look at, go through, and there's going to be some Let's Play videos coming up. Do check out Console Goods for your cables. Do check out Games World Bodman for your computer games. And keep playing games, and I'll see you next time.